Now, there's other Bitcoin-related news. I mentioned this Butterfly Labs. Now, what is Butterfly Labs?
Well, they produce Bitcoin mining equipment, or
No,
at least,
I don't think they ever did they?
Well, their intent was to create Bitcoin mining equipment, and I think they did. They did get it. They did produce it, and they delivered it so late that it was essentially useless.
Yeah, that was what first of all, the mining thing, for people that don't know, Bitcoin mining is going to be hard to explain what this is, but essentially it's the computer work that goes on behind the scenes of Bitcoin, sort of cryptographic hashing, I think is the terminology.
The Bitcoins are locked behind like very complex mathematical equations, right? And it takes a lot of computer power to solve those equations and basically to sort of crack the code, if you will, to gain the Bitcoins that are locked behind the blockchain. And I think there's something like, last I checked, it was like there were 11 or 12 million Bitcoins in circulation, and there'll be a total of like 21 million.
And they all have to be mined into existence, so to speak. And over time, the mining difficulty will become more difficult. And as more people get into the mining, it becomes more difficult. Although I think I heard Derek J say earlier on his show, Bitcoin Talk Show, that apparently if fewer people were to be mining, that it would actually get easier to mine.
That's true.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, but in theory, it's going to get more difficult to mine and has been getting more difficult to mine. And so over time, the equipment, the hardware that you need to actually do this mining process. And by the way, just to be clear, if you want to get into Bitcoin, you don't have to know a damn thing about mining. You just go to expresscoin.com and go buy Bitcoin, get your Bitcoin wallet at blockchain.com.
In the same way, you don't need to print dollar bills to spend dollar bills.
Nor do you need a pickaxe to go and buy gold. Right. You don't
None of those things.
Yeah. So Bitcoin mining is sort of the thing that the ultra geeks are doing, and the people that are interested in that.
It's a business now, and we'll see how it goes for you. Good luck.
I have to say that the times we've talked to people who have done mining, in fact, our very own Johnny Ray, our Tuesday night co-host, got into a mining rig deal. He went into a partnership with somebody else, and even though they had free electricity, they couldn't make it work. They couldn't make Bitcoin mining into a profitable venture. And so whenever I would hear people talk about their mining experiences, it was always about how it just wasn't what they had expected and it didn't really work out for them. So when I heard about this Butterfly Labs company offering some futuristic Bitcoin miner, just pay us hundreds of dollars in advance, and then when this hardware is ready that's going to be so awesome, we'll send it to you. Well, turns out it wasn't so great. Mark, you're saying they did ship?
They shipped something.
But ultimately, they shipped it after it was, not really useful for mining anymore. So they fulfilled their promise, but it wasn't.
Not everything. They didn't ship everything. There's plenty of people who didn't get shipped to entirely, as I understand, too.
Well, apparently the Federal Trade Commission is now going after this company. But when they were selling hardware that you knew, if you were paying, I'm not an expert on this Bitcoin mining thing, but I know that over time the hardware will become junk because you have to keep upgrading. It's like, buying the latest graphics card for your computer, for instance. You've got to play the latest and greatest game. Well, you got to have the latest and greatest graphics card or it's not going to look that good.
Well, that's essentially what the Bitcoin miners are. They're GPUs, graphics processing units, because they apparently process a lot faster than your average CPU, your central processing unit. And so you'll have, guys with 10, 15, 20 video cards basically in the machine. And that's why the Bitcoin mining rigs are not terribly useful in your normal everyday applications.
Well, that's what it was originally, was video cards in a machine, but the mining hardware itself is just dedicated hardware for mining the Bitcoin.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying. But it's basically the graphics hardware, right? Instead of like going and buying a bunch of AGP graphics cards, right? They're basically taking those processing units and stacking them up, in the however many of them in the unit. Yeah. And it's basically it's an ultra fast computer that does one thing. It just does Bitcoin. One thing, and then once it stops,
it does one thing too. It's like I can't remember what it means, but ASIC is essentially means one. It does that. This print CPU does one thing,
which makes sense. I get that. You don't want to have
application specific protocol, something or other.
Right.
Integrated circuit.
There you go. So that makes sense. You want to have, if you're going to have a Bitcoin miner, it should be a dedicated piece of hardware, and that's all it does. It's not running some operating system. You're not trying to do word processing on it. It's just mining. But the problem is,
watch your porn elsewhere.
The question really is, if the difficulty continues to go up on this Bitcoin, mining, then how long is one of these miners, which is a piece of hardware? It's not going. You can't upgrade this piece of hardware. You're just going to have to throw it out at some point after it becomes
paperweight.
next to useless. So you're going to be spending, and I don't remember what people spent on these Butterfly Labs things, but I think it was in the hundreds, if not thousands of, lower
I think they had
thousands
both
of dollars.
choices.
Yeah, so it wasn't a cheap thing for somebody to jump into this, and they were promising they're going to deliver this stuff, and I just thought, man, if you give some company that has no reputation whatsoever beyond the fact that they have buzz, because that's really all they had was, ooh, we're going to come out with this fancy piece of mining hardware at some point. Give us all your money, and we'll ship it eventually. That just, to me, was like red flag. Look out for these people. And turns out, yeah, they might have been scamming people.
Yeah, it sounds to me like the way that you're explaining it anyway, like, if I got that pitch, I'd be like, look, whoever did business with these folks obviously failed to do their due diligence, right? Like, if somebody's just like, hey, at some point in the future, I'm going to deliver you a really powerful computer, and all you got to do is give me $5,000 right now. I'd be like, well, you go find someone stupid enough to do that, because I ain't him, pal.
People wanted very badly to be in on this mining
floor.
Thing, and
they took it. It sounds like they may have taken advantage of that. It certainly sounded suspect to me, but we'll get into the story here from ArsTechnica.com, where the Federal Trade Commission has filed a civil suit against Butterfly Labs, an embattled Kansas-based Bitcoin miner manufacturer. The FTC alleges the company engaged in fraudulent and deceptive practices. Federal authorities believe that the three named members of the company's board of directors spent millions of dollars of corporate revenue on all kinds of things, including saunas and guns, while ignoring many customer orders.
And now they need those guns.
The customer orders apparently went unfulfilled or were significantly delayed. The case was filed in federal court last week in Missouri and unsealed late Monday, and it comes over a year after Ars first reported on the company and began testing its initial round of specialized computers designed to do nothing but mine for Bitcoin. We'll tell you more about the allegations here against this company.
We get a deadline on computers. Let's buy some guns and get in the sauna.
All right. We'll come back with more here in moments. That's just it, man. These guys had no reputation whatsoever outside of buzz. And even if they had reputation, I wouldn't pay for computer hardware in advance. That stuff, you want to get state-of-the-art, you're going to pay for it at that instant. More coming up in moments. Free Talk Live. More about this Butterfly Labs, this group of people who were allegedly selling Bitcoin mining hardware, and apparently they did deliver some of the hardware, but they didn't deliver it to everyone who apparently ordered the hardware. And when they delivered them, word is they delivered them later than they promised, and so therefore the hardware wasn't as useful as it was promised that it would be.
If there's a listener at home with like Tor open and you know where like the assassination markets are on Tor, I want to know if these guys are on there yet.
Good question. I have been to the assassination market. Have you not seen that yet?
I saw like stories. Like I know like Ben Bernanke was on there, and then as soon as Janet Yellen became the Fed chair, then there was a hit out on her. And I don't really know exactly how it works. I saw an article about it in Market Watch or Forbes or something.
I'll see if I can pull that up later on. So you can bring up anything you want here.
I'm too petrified to go. Like, I don't even want to look.
It's not illegal to look at the assassination market.
I'm sorry. It just makes me shrivel up on the inside.
Nor is it illegal to look at the Silk Road. You can go there and browse around.
I looked at that back in the day.
All right. So Butterfly Labs, based in Kansas, has been sued by the Federal Trade Commission. Now, just because the Federal Trade Commission sues somebody doesn't mean that the allegations are true.
Right. I think there wasn't the Federal Trade Commission suing the Zen Magnets guy or something like that.
There's an update on Zen Magnets as well.
Yeah. Oh, we're going to have to get to that. I'm obsessed with that story.
I got an email from Shahan Q, the founder, today, actually, and I actually haven't read through the entire email. It looks lengthy, and it's not good news. Apparently magnets have been banned or something outrageous.
You're gonna have to get your spherical magnets on Silk Road now.
Almost. Apparently, you can still order them from overseas companies. Anyway, we can talk more about that, but it's outrageous.
As long as they don't get seized at customs.
Well, yeah, but they would have to scan all the packages for magnets, and it would probably be pretty unlikely.
As strong as those things are, all they just need is magnets to find them.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, let me continue here with the story about these Butterfly Lab executives, Jody Drake, Nasser Gosseri, and Sonny Vlisides.
Yeah, they're definitely ripping people off. They're like, you can't even pronounce my name. Good luck suing me. This is why it's the Federal Trade Commission and not some average Joe.
I don't know about that, but they allegedly were taking saunas and buying guns, spending millions of dollars of their corporate revenue on all kinds of things besides fulfilling their customers' orders. The case was filed in federal court last week. It was unsealed on Monday. Ars Technica has the report, arstechnica.com. Quote, the FTC alleges that one corporate defendant and 3 individual defendants have taken in over $50 million by operating a scheme that required customers to prepay for machines that would allow customers or consumers to mine for bitcoins and new virtual currencies, says the complaint. The defendants either never delivered these machines or delivered them so late that they became obsolete. No one from Butterfly Labs, including the named defendants, responded to repeated requests for comment by phone, email, and Skype. Unsubstantiated rumors.
Because their lawyer told them never to do that.
Unsubstantiated rumors on the BitcoinTalk.org forum stated that their offices in Kansas were raided by the U.S. Marshals Service last Friday. Nikki Kredic-Barrett, a spokesman for the USMS, the Marshals, told Ars on Monday that one of her colleagues from the Western District of Missouri, whom she declined to name, said that they were present at that location on that day. She said that anything concerned with what happened is under seal. That is the most that he could tell me. Helen Wong, FTC attorney, told Ars that all 3 principals have been served with the lawsuit and that no arrests have been made. Again, it is a civil suit. The USMS, she said, was present to, quote, keep the peace. Initially, she explained the case was sealed to prevent Butterfly Labs from moving money around, or in government parlance, to prevent asset dissipation. BFL is no longer in the hands of its principals, but rather under a temporary court-appointed receiver, a situation which will last until Monday, September 29th, and on that date, the judge can choose to extend that receivership or cancel it. The court granted their request, the FTC's request, to put the company under that receivership, and basically everything is under the control of the receivership, and that order allows us to locate documents and assets. The receiver has temporary custody of the company, and everything is under that until the court decides otherwise. For the past year, BFL insisted that mere manufacturing delays were to blame for the company's woes. However, suspicion of active fraud never died down and only worsened after it came to light that Butterfly Labs' largest shareholder, Sonny Vlasides, had violated terms of his probation from a previous lottery scam case. Uh-oh.
Yeah. That was the once I heard that, I felt very sort of justified I feel much better about this. But the honest fact is most of these people just wanted to get these mining computers as quickly as they could. There wasn't anything available at the time. These people rolled in at just the right time. They smelled an opportunity, and they're hustlers.
The judge who extended Vlasides' probation, because, again, he had violated his term, so he's had more probation extended now, made some damning comments about Butterfly Labs in a January court hearing, saying, quote, now there is a stench coming from Butterfly Labs. It's a strong smell. It's not enough to send you to prison today, because to be quite honest with you, if it was, we'd be talking about 24 months in prison. It's not. I think it's too close. I think defense witness Mr. Bourne did a very good job of testifying, and it assisted your defense greatly, but if I find out that there is this fraud word involved in this part, you know, Mr. Vlasides, as we say here at the courthouse, you need to get your toothbrush and your things in order, because fraud will not be tolerated. You understand that? So I would work very hard to make these consumers happy, consumers whom you've dealt with. Butterfly Labs is a company that promised to deliver some state-of-the-art, amazing Bitcoin mining hardware. But the problem with what they apparently allegedly ended up doing was they took in a bunch of money and then claimed to have manufacturing delays. It's not our fault. It's that manufacturer over in China or wherever it was that they claimed they were manufacturing this. We're doing our best to deliver this stuff to you folks, so just hold on. And then they finally delivered some of the products to some of their customers, and ultimately by that time, because the Bitcoin hardware world is constantly on the increase as far as the hardware needs to keep getting better and better over time, the people who received their equipment were behind the ball. They weren't able to effectively mine Bitcoin as they had been promised that they would be able to do. Which
obviously is like a terrible position for a person to find themselves in. We were just saying during the break, I was hoping to find out if a caller has done business with them, or maybe they say it in their statement, like what the terms of the agreement were when you signed up. Because I don't know if this is a situation where these guys were actually actively committing fraud and saying we will deliver X by X, or if people just made bad investments saying, hey, I'm going to give you a bunch of money now and hope that I get
just
something back.
Just because they were excited. They got this buzz and they felt like this is something they wanted to jump into. And as Mark pointed out, it didn't seem like there were any other competitors at that moment offering similar hardware.
There wasn't much. Yeah, nobody really. Basically, as I recall the situation, Butterfly Labs was sort of first on the scene saying, "We will sell you ASICs." But here's the deal.
It's a type of hardware.
Yeah,
for
that's the computer that we're talking about here, the special computer.
What was the AS again in that?
Application specific.
Application specific integrated circuits.
Got it.
There you go. So we'll sell you an ASIC, but you're going to have to wait for it to be delivered. Now, no other company. See, the other companies weren't full of crooks, so they didn't think, oh, we'll do that. But these crooks who, and I've got to disagree with you, Cantwell, because here's how I feel, and I think the vast majority of people feel, and consider that morality is a feeling to some extent. Let's look at it in that way. We can talk about.
Yeah, we won't have to get into what morality is today.
So, consider that it's a feeling, and like when I loan somebody money who's like, "Hey, I really need $100 or whatever." I don't want to see that person with an ice cream cone until I get my $100 back, right? Like, you don't get a beer, you don't get a cigarette, you don't get an ice cream cone until I get my money.
Well, unless the terms of the loan were, I'll pay you back in 2 weeks, and next Friday they have
that's
beer.
Absolutely,
I mean,
yeah,
but that's what I'm trying
legit.
to figure out with them, right? Because if they said, "Hey, we're going to raise money, we're asking you to give us money, and in return, once we raise enough money and once we have the technology, then we will deliver this to you as soon as we possibly can." Well, that's a ridiculous thing. You shouldn't give somebody money for that, right? That's just you not doing your due diligence. And we had sort of talked about this with the Galt's Gulch thing, right? That people were buying plots of land that they knew they didn't have the zoning rights to sell.
God.
And everybody knew it, though. So people are complaining now, hey, they don't have the zoning rights. Well, it was on their website. What are you talking about? It's not fraud. It's just a bad investment.
Sure. But at the same time, if the statement was, we're going to raise this money and then we're going to ship this product when the money is raised, if they're then going out and buying saunas and hookers and cocaine, that suggests that maybe they're actually,
it would suggest that they're having a much better time than their customers.
At that point, if they're taking money that's being raised for the purpose of building hardware and then they're spending it on non-hardware related stuff, then that would be a violation, would it not?
I don't know what the terms of the contract
That's
were,
what I'm saying.
Right?
I'm saying
so,
if.
the thing is, I would say that it's a terrible thing, and if you do business with these people in the future, you're a fool. And apparently, like you said earlier, that they had no reputation, and apparently they have a terrible one. But it's that's the question in my mind, because that's the delineation in my mind between this guy's a jerk and you shouldn't do business with him, and this guy's an aggressor and has to go to prison.
Let's continue here. Josh is calling from Massachusetts. You're on Free Talk Live, Josh.
Hey, what's happening?
Hey, we're doing a radio show. What's on your mind?
Hey, I bought a BFL miner a while ago, and it never showed up.
Oh, dear. So before you go on with that, what were the terms? That's what I think is a big important question here. Do you recall? Do you happen to have a recollection there?
I don't know the specific in contract terms, but when I talked to the guy on the phone, he's basically said, hey, we're going to be shipping next week. So, and because he had been, they'd been getting their stuff together for a while, and they're like, oh, there's a hold up here, but we're definitely shipping next week. We have the units here.
Well, there you go. I mean, at that point, the guy's committing fraud, right? If the guy's saying to you, I'm gonna deliver this product next week, he fails to deliver on it, you find out that he's been spending it on hookers and blow. Well, then this is obviously now we're talking about fraud.
When was it that he told you it'd be next week?
Oh, this was like a year ago.
I'm sorry to laugh at your situation.
We just got our money back. No.
You got your money back.
They gave you a refund.
Well, it was ordered on a credit card. See, they didn't take Bitcoin only. They took credit card. A lot of these companies took Bitcoin only. So if you paid in Bitcoin, you would have been totally screwed.
Yep. Oh, yeah, it happened.
But if you paid, it happened to me. And I ordered another miner, and it showed up too late to make a profit. Now I'm negative. I never made enough money for it.
So the other miner did not come from Butterfly Labs. The other miner came from another company?
Yeah, the other miner was one of the first ASICs to hit the market. It's an Avalon. I was trying to sell it to Mark a couple weeks ago.
Why don't you just sell him a doorstop instead?
This thing sucks. Want to pay me?
It's a space heater, and up here
it is
in New
get
Hampshire,
cold.
it's going to get cold.
Right?
I'm thinking, maybe over the coldest months, I could see if I could get a Bitcoin or two.
Keep it on your desk, warm your hands over it, or something like that. Josh,
Yeah,
I want to hear more
well.
about your experience, if you don't mind. Hang on, because I think this is fascinating. We'll come back with more here. More about the alleged scam artists behind the Butterfly Labs, Bitcoin mining hardware manufacturer. And we've actually got their statement, too. So the FTC is suing them. The Butterfly Labs did release a statement yesterday about that, and I'll share that with you, and you can tell us if you believe them. 855-450-FREE. It's Free Talk Live. And Josh, you were a customer of the the Butterfly Labs, this manufacturer purporting to make Bitcoin hardware, Bitcoin mining hardware.
At this point, he doesn't sound like a customer. He sounds like a victim.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah,
You had
unfortunately,
purchased.
That's the truth.
How much did you spend, by the way? Because as I understood, this was not a cheap piece of hardware that they were selling.
Well, it's $2,500 actually, and it was at the time it was a pretty good deal.
That doesn't sound like it was a good deal at all.
It would have been a good deal.
Right.
Yeah.
It would have been a great deal.
Had it been delivered at all to you, and delivered, if it were delivered, had it been delivered on time, because apparently some people did get it, but much later than promised, then maybe you would have had a chance at making some money on this.
If I had ordered a Commodore 128 in 1989 and received it today, I'd probably be pretty upset with my investment.
Yeah, so they never delivered this thing, and you said you just got a refund, but we weren't made clear on how that refund was delivered. Was it the credit card company that you paid that just gave you the refund, and now the credit card company is going after Butterfly Labs, or did Butterfly Labs actually refund you the money?
Yeah, what happened was Butterfly Labs refused to refund the money, and then a credit card fraud claim was made, and then they investigated and came back and basically said that there's nothing we can do about it right now. And then a couple months later, the credit card just refunded the money.
So yeah, he ended up doing a chargeback, and I guess Butterfly Labs probably was fighting chargebacks, and that might have had something to do with like the ultimate downfall of the thing. I mean, they may have very well like run into some legitimate delays, but then that causes a bunch of chargebacks, which whacks your merchant account, and then you're wiped out. But actually, no, because we were just talking about them buying hookers and blowing sauna and weapons.
According to the FTC's attorney Helen Wong, records indicate that once consumer funds entered into the defendant's bank accounts, they are quickly dissipated. In recent months, despite receiving large sums of money each time consumers place orders, defendants generally leave no more than approximately $2.5 million in their operating bank account. Instead, funds are depleted shortly after they enter into the bank accounts after consumers place their orders. There is also substantial evidence that corporate funds are being diverted for seemingly personal use. Department stores, daycare services, massages, and home improvement, such as architectural services and saunas. Not sure how saunas are home improvement, but maybe they purchased a sauna for their house.
You can put a sauna in your house as a home improvement, all right. That'll drive your property taxes up a little bit.
Defendants' corporate credit cards also reflect numerous non-business expenses, including department stores like Nordstrom's, Bed Bath & Beyond, Restoration Hardware, and even Hobby Lobby, as well as auto maintenance, gun stores, and even hunting stores. So sounds to me like they did all kinds of fun things with your money there.
God, glad they had a good time. Because it sounds to me like they're about to have a really terrible time.
Yeah, I hope prison sucks for you guys.
So, Josh,
well, I mean, that's what this stuff's for, right? That's what the FBI is for, or whoever, to investigate fraud, and this is legitimate fraud. So I guess
it does certainly seem to be, at least from their argument, legitimate. Though we'll give you Butterfly Labs' response. But you're saying they were making excuses about delays, and ultimately the hardware never showed up. You got your money back from the credit card companies, but many people ordered these pieces of hardware with Bitcoin. And one of the things that's good about Bitcoin in some ways is that transactions are final. Like if you're honestly doing business with people and the person you're doing business with, a customer, is the scam artist, then, getting the money and making that final is a good thing because they can't do a chargeback on you. But in your case, you were grateful that you didn't pay with Bitcoin in this instance because having the credit card company involved actually allowed you to be made whole after all this was said and done.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, paying with Bitcoin, you got to be kind of vigilant. You got to know what you're doing, and who you're sending the money for, and you got to do your research.
Oh yeah,
you got to be much more responsible with your money, and I think that's bringing responsibility into money is a good thing with Bitcoin too.
So, are you admitting that you were just way too excited? What was it that sold you on this pie in the sky plan from this company that nobody'd ever heard of before?
Well, BFL did deliver a couple of prototypes, and they delivered a couple of small units.
Delivered to who?
To testers and a couple of other things. And I think they had I'm not sure if they had FPGA. Those are the lower grade processors going. I'm not sure if they had any of those on the market or not. But something basically said, well, let's do it this way. And the reason we did it with a credit card was just in case.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
So
you're feeling a lot smarter than the people that paid with Bitcoins.
So you're saying that basically they put some hardware out there to people in the Bitcoin community enough to create some buzz in the community.
Yeah, it was all real shady. But, the risk versus benefit was there at the price level. So the risk associated with the benefit was great compared to the risk if they kept their word. And I figured, if we're going to use a credit card, that way we'll have some protection. So that's basically why I ordered. I was very skeptical from the get-go, but I was confident that I'd either get the money back or I'd make a lot of money mining Bitcoin.
Josh, I'm glad you called tonight with your story. Anybody else have a question for Josh while we got him?
No, it sounds to me like these guys did make a hell of a lot of money, though, with this, because it's, if they've got $2.5 million in their bank account and they're not, and that's what they're keeping in it while they spend all this other money. I mean, they got a lot of people to pay for this.
Sure did.
Josh, did you get into Bitcoin mining, or are you just like, this is too complicated?
Oh, no, I got into it a long time ago.
Are you still in it?
Well, no, because at this point, I can't find a piece of hardware that will pay back.
Yeah, that's it. I don't see how you make money on this. I don't know. I've never met anybody who's made anything on mining. Maybe in the early days, but
a lot of people made money because they got Bitcoins and the Bitcoins went up. Mm-hmm. So the Bitcoin miners today. Go ahead.
Let me tell you guys how I got started. I mean, I heard you guys talking about it when it hit parity with $1, and I'm like, this sounds cool. I looked into it for a night, and then the next day I went out and I bought some graphics cards, and I bought the fastest ones I could find. At that point, I had like one of the fastest Bitcoin mining machines around. So at that point, I was doing really good. But Bitcoin had dropped down to 63 cents, so I wasn't making a ton of money. I'd barely paid off my investment. But it was steadily climbing, so it worked out really well for me.
I see. So, yeah, that makes sense. So if the Bitcoins go up in value, then you've made money, but otherwise it wouldn't have panned out. Thanks for the call tonight, Josh.
Yeah.
Appreciate hearing from you.
If he made his money back with Bitcoin at 63 cents.
Yeah,
he's doing all right.
I feel terrible for Josh right now. Oh, poor Josh.
All right. Well, he still did get scammed by this company. That much is true. And he's not the only one, apparently. We'll give you their official response to this lawsuit in moments. Toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. This is Free Talk Live. The story is over at ArsTechnica.com about Butterfly Labs. They promised they were going to deliver amazing Bitcoin mining hardware. And Bitcoin mining is sort of this thing that goes on behind the scenes in Bitcoin. It's not really relevant at all to people's use of Bitcoin for businesses or for personal buying and selling and things like that. It has nothing to do with that. It's just sort of behind the scenes how Bitcoin works, the guts, if you will, the technical guts of Bitcoin. And so there are people that got into this mining thing and they wanted to buy some hardware that was better than what they had. And this Butterfly Labs crew said, we've got amazing hardware that's going to come out. Just give us thousands of dollars. And then eventually...
Here's a picture.
Yeah. Eventually, we'll send it to you. Which is a terrible idea. And when I first heard about that, I thought, that's not something that I would do, even if I were interested in mining Bitcoin. Just because of the nature of computer hardware, it gets worse over time. It gets superseded by other hardware that is released and is better. Anyway, they didn't send a lot of that hardware out, and now the FTC has filed a suit. But they're not the only ones. According to ArsTechnica.com, in December of 2013, a German-Polish man who lives in China filed a lawsuit over a $62,000 order that was never fulfilled by Butterfly Labs. He accused BFL of breach of contract, fraud, and negligent representation. And Butterfly Labs lost a civil case by default in Kansas's Johnson County Court in late November of 2013. In that case, the plaintiff, a Californian named William Lawley, won a judgment of more than $13,000, but told ours earlier this year he hasn't collected the award. The company's troubles worsened from there. A lawsuit filed in early April of this year accuses BFL of engaging in deceptive and unconscionable business practices. The suit, which seeks class action status, was also filed that same month in Kansas. That case accuses BFL of collecting payment for, quote, non-existent Bitcoin mining equipment, failing to ship said Bitcoin mining equipment, orders for which consumers have prepaid, misrepresenting the date misrepresenting the date such equipment is to ship to customers, and profiting from Bitcoin mining for defendants' own benefit, using customers' equipment without permission or authorization from customers.
Oh, so they seem to have bought some of these Bitcoin mining units, used them, and then perhaps the idea was like, hey, once these things are useless, then we'll send them out to the customers. This sounds as though these are some very bad people.
And those were other lawsuits. Those weren't the FTC suits. So those were just some of the other suits they've been hit with over the last 2 years. Here is their official response, posted yesterday from their headquarters in Leawood, Kansas, from Butterfly Labs. Quote, Butterfly Labs is disappointed in the heavy-handed actions of the Federal Trade Commission. In a rush to judgment, the FTC has acted as a judge, jury, and executioner, contrary to our intended system of governmental checks and balances. The FTC's current actions are negative. Now, I don't think that's true. The FTC's brought a civil suit against them. That's not judge, jury, and executioner.
Well, they did. There is a story that they were raided. I mean, that's what they said earlier in the thing, that their offices were raided. So, if it turned out that these guys hadn't actually defrauded somebody, then the FTC really would have been heavy-handed in this. But it sounds like, they are going out and doing what their, mission statement is, which is persecuting fraudsters.
Yeah.
They're unlike Zen Magnets.
The purpose of the raid, they claim, was so they could freeze their accounts and things like that in the hopes of being able to get something out of it.
You're going to try to go find some Bitcoin wallets.
The FTC's current actions, says Butterfly Labs, are negatively impacting our thousands of customers and our dozens of employees. Their current media campaign should only further alarm a knowing citizenry and raise questions as to why the FTC wouldn't simply let this case play out through the judicial system. That's what Butterfly Labs intends to do. It appears the FTC has decided to go to war on Bitcoin overall. What makes them say that? Is there any other evidence?
What makes them say that is that they're marketing products to Bitcoin enthusiasts who are naturally skeptical of government in large part. Sure. So it's like one of these things that you're like, well, the government came after us. Of course they came after us. We're on your side. We're going up against the banks. We're being persecuted. No, you're
scam artists.
Yeah.
But Butterfly Labs, they say, is being portrayed by the FTC as a bogus and fake company. To the contrary, Butterfly Labs is very real. As pointed out in court filings Butterfly Labs made last night, Butterfly Labs has shipped more than $33 million in products to customers and voluntarily granted refunds approximating $17 million to customers for canceled orders. Butterfly Labs was literally... But by the way, we heard from one of their customers a moment ago who said he never got anything from these people.
Yeah. The refund he got was a chargeback through the credit card company. That's not a voluntary refund.
Butterfly Labs was literally in the midst of shipping out completed products to fulfill the remaining millions of orders of on our books and issuing requested refunds when the FTC effectively closed the doors of Butterfly Labs without any chance to be heard in court. At this time, Butterfly Labs is cooperating with the temporary receiver appointed by the court. A hearing is set for September 29th, and Butterfly Labs has asked the court to allow it to present testimony from key witnesses for the company.
It sounds like they've got a very good lawyer that is working for them, and he's pieced all this thing together.
But I repeat myself.
Butterfly Labs intends to defend our business and our nascent and promising industry. The government wants to shut Butterfly Labs down, and we're not going away without a fight to vindicate Bitcoin, our company, and our employees. Our continued focus is our customers and finding a way to continue to deliver products and processing refunds for those who have requested them. There you go. Do you believe it?
No.
I'm going to go ahead and say I'm extraordinarily skeptical about it. I mean, look, we had a Free Talk Live listener who says that he was put onto Bitcoin by Free Talk Live. So, I mean, this is a guy who's been listening to this program for a while. And I'm going to take his word over these guys.
I happen to know who that listener was. I didn't realize who it was when he was talking to us.
Yeah, but
right
at first.
Yeah, I don't know if I should reveal who it was, but I know who it was. And he's definitely got credibility.
Well, don't dox the guy.
Yeah.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.